Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Film Frauds. For myself, Matt, my two co-hosts, Mark
Hello.
and Tyler,
Hello.
provide our completely unprofessional, 100% biased opinions on the movies of today, tomorrow, and yesteryear. But today, we like to do our monthly, what we've been watching, reading, listening to, smoking, inserting, swallowing, injecting, all the good stuff that we've been doing for the month of October.
Yes.
It includes movies, books, TV shows, all forms of entertainment. But first, we're going to start off with the man himself, Marcus Tullius Caesar.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. First
really
recommendation. The first recommendation from me is not a particularly good movie, but I think if you're a movie fan, you should watch it anyway. It's The Color of Money, directed by Martin Scorsese. And it stars Paul Newman and Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise just goes, he just has a blast with this film. I think it might have been just more like a documentary of like Martin Scorsese just recording Tom Cruise playing pool. Because it's like, I feel like I was watching him, like, I feel like this is Tom Cruise in real life. I feel like this is what he's like. And it follows Tom Cruise, plays this character that I don't remember the name of. And he's like this young, up-and-coming...
So professional.
fantastic pool player in the pool scene, the underground pool scene, I guess you could say. And Paul Newman is like this, retired pool shark or whatever you want to call him. And he sees Tom Cruise and says like, oh, there's a buck to be made here. So he teams up with Tom and guides him through this scene of the pool, I can't think of the right word. It's just the championships of pool and, getting all the big wins and everything. And so it makes for a very interesting story. I guess that's what it was. But yeah, it's on Prime Video.
Does it remind you of Heart 8, like Paul Thomas Anderson's Heart 8, like that kind of like taking the underling up and showing him the rain and stuff like that?
Right, because what's the name of the guy in
Sydney.
Heart 8? Sydney. Yeah, that was the original name of the movie. Yeah. In a way, actually, now that you put it that way, it's very similar. Except like Tom Cruise is like an actual prodigy. And so it's very interesting story. I think I'd recommend it, especially to Tyler, because he's the Tom Cruise guy.
He likes pool so much.
And he likes pool. He's always playing pool and bowing before his Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I destroyed him at pool. We went to a bar in Hudson and I just wrecked him.
Did we?
Let's change the podcast to that. Tell us about it.
No, you never know.
We turned 21. That's in the classic picture where you're like this at the bar.
That's right. Yeah, I look very subservient.
He didn't even stand a chance. I was a pool shark.
It's because I was,
So you're the Tom Cruise.
Yeah, you're the Tom Cruise,
it's pretty clear. Out of Tyler and I, I'm of course the Tom Cruise.
Yeah, because you're his height.
Tyler's the Tom Cruise is the lover of Tom Cruise.
Yeah. So, Color of Money, directed by Martin Scorsese. I watched it on Prime Video, so you can watch it there. I think that's the only place I know of. So, I recommend it.
Cool. Well, I'm recommending a movie on Prime Video as well. It's called.
We're not sponsored, by the way.
Yeah.
Unless you're watching Jeff Bezos.
I do sim for Jeff Bezos, but...
Yeah, unless you want to sponsor us, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, gladly. I'm talking about a movie from 2017 called The Outlaws, which stars Film Frauds' resident husband, the guy from Train to Busan, who we all think is really cool. What?
We don't even know his name.
I think I wrote it in my Letterboxd review.
He's the muscular guy.
Dong Seok Ma. Let's call him Dong. And this is basically a Shane Black movie starring that character and starring that actor. And it's really, really fun. It's like Dong plays like a detective, very much like Brendan Gleeson's character from The Guard by John Michael McDonough. And he has that like same like kind of like morally gray detective work. He likes to like go party and like buy prostitutes and stuff. And he's so cool. And basically there's this Chinese gang infiltrating Japan, this Japanese district, and it's up to Dong to take them down. And it's just a super fun, super solid action movie. The action's not like in like the style of like The Raid or something, but it's competent enough and it doesn't get very bloody. It's just like a solid like fun action film, and I think like the character work is probably the highlight of the movie, especially with Dong's character, because it's very much a comedy, and despite the subtitle like restrictions, where obviously things are probably gonna be less funny when you're reading it instead of like listening to it in the natural language, but it all like transfers over perfectly. I was laughing a lot during this movie. I think Tyler would really love this movie as well. And with a lot of South Korean directors, like they very much don't shoot things generically. There's one really great like action scene where a guy's running to his car because he's being chased by gangsters, and then all the gangsters jump on the car and he gets in and he drives off, and the gangsters fall off the car, and it's really really well done. It's not very flashy like the Raid movies, but it's very competent, and I think the character work especially backs it up. So I'd really recommend this movie.
I feel very pampered too right now. Both of you guys have been like, Tyler's gonna love this movie. I feel great, and I feel like this is a much needed. Like after I got eviscerated in our Blackhat review.
Yeah,
we gotta remind them what movies are good and whatnot.
Yeah, thank you guys. Well, Mark, I want to segue into one of your movies you might talk about, and that's Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love. I also watched Chungking Express this month as well, but I think In the Mood for Love blows that movie out of the water. Chungking Express is still a really great movie, but In the Mood for Love is kind of like this different kind of animal and visual storytelling and performances. This is kind of like incredibly directed. I don't want to spoil too much about this movie because I feel like everyone should go in as blind as possible. And I think Mark is probably going to emulate my thoughts on that one as well. But if you really want to see a great movie and how a director handles visual storytelling to convey kind of characters' emotions that treat the audience with respect and as the audience is intelligent, you really can't go wrong with this movie. There are some incredible shots of directing, a lot of stuff. If you need a more contemporary example, look at Koga Nawa's. I can't remember how to pronounce the name. His movie Columbus, where a lot of the times he shoots stuff through mirrors, so you see characters through a mirror, kind of like that reflection. And I think that's a really interesting way of doing that. And In the Mood for Love has a lot of those kind of like unique framings and unique kind of camera movements that add so much liveliness to this world that they're establishing. I believe it's Hong Kong, if I'm not mistaken. I think the performances are great. I think the music's incredible, and I think the cinematography is incredible as well. Again, this is one of the best examples of visual storytelling I've ever seen in a movie. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's also like an hour and 35 minutes. It's the perfect length and the perfect pace for this type of movie. Nothing feels really superfluous. It's incredibly tight and well made, and it's just kind of excellent all around.
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend that movie as well. It's very interesting because this movie like sort of puts you under a spell. You get these sequences where you get the same sort of score and it's in slow motion, and it's sort of like you're in this dream-like state, and it's just like it's very enchanting what's happening on the screen. And so this is the second film I've seen from Wong Kar-wai, and the first one being Chungking Express. I don't know yet which one I like more. I really like Chungking Express, but I also saw In the Mood for Love as like definitely a superior film, but it didn't hit me as hard as I was expecting it to. I pretty much mirror everything that Tyler said, but probably to a lesser extent. It definitely didn't affect me as much as it affected him. So to keep things short, I'll just say it's on the Criterion channel if you want to watch it. Go in as blind as possible. It's an hour and like 42 minutes, I want to say. And
okay.
Or maybe it's like an hour and 37. It's somewhere like just above the 90-minute line. And if you like that, go see Chungking Express as well, because that's another film from the director, which is also very unique. And Wong Kar-wai, if you're unfamiliar with him, he is just, get to know him.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot from him. So
yeah, I should watch this movie. It's I've been, because it's on the Canopy thing as well, so I've been meaning to watch it for a while, but I'm gonna do it at some point. It's pretty short too. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
right?
it's 99 minutes, so it's a perfect kind of like. I get Matt. I think like if we're going to, I think this is right up your alley for a movie.
Okay. All right. Well, my movie is not In the Mood for Love. I don't know why I'm talking about this movie again, but I'm gonna go for it. Completely unrestrained. I gotta do it. I'm talking about 2004's Downfall.
Oh my god! Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So this is probably one of the most important movies I think anyone could ever watch, especially in today's atmosphere where there's a lot of like sort of untempered loyalty to a political belief or a political figure. I think that Downfall perfectly shows why that's a horrible thing and why it will never lead to anything positive. So basically, Downfall covers the last few days of the of Hitler and his and the Nazi Party in Berlin as the Soviet Union very slowly takes it over, and it has that same quality of like a Park Chan-wook film where it just feels like you're watching this you should never be watching. I don't want to go into too many specifics, even as someone who knows what happens, because I've studied this stuff a lot. I was still utterly appalled by a lot of what goes on, and just feels like you're not supposed to be seeing any of this, but you can't look away at the same time. The movie follows mainly Hitler's secretary, who's a real person, who wrote a book about her experiences in the bunker, as like the Nazi Party kind of relies on this one general to somehow miraculously like liberate Berlin from Soviet control. It's completely a farcical and nonsensical plan, but Hitler is a completely farcical, nonsensical person, so he kind of remains true to that belief and justifies the pointless slaughter of all those people as they desperately try to defend the city for his sake. And it's weird because I went on YouTube and I typed in the word Nazi and nothing comes up. Like as soon as you type in Nazi, like there's just nothing there. So it's
Really?
like it's just so stupid how erasing history is not going to help us solve what mistakes we've made. It is watching.
That's just not true. I look it up and there's tons of stuff that comes up about Nazi.
No, but
Germany.
I mean like in the search bar itself.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'm not saying nothing comes up when you search that word. I'm saying like nothing from search options comes down when you search it, and it's like trying to like erase like any sort of like history of that, which is just stupid. Like you should watch movies like Downfall to understand like why these things are terrible and why we should learn from them. And I mean, just to go from the performances, like the movie manages to humanize these people without making them sympathetic. Does an excellent job with that. Like you see like Hitler and Goebbels as people, but also you also see them as like the monsters that you already know them to be, and that's done expertly. And like watching them all slowly realize that they're not going to make it out of here, and then like unceremoniously commit suicide is just so like perfectly fitting for all the destructions that they caused. And I can't get this movie out of my mind. It's just brilliant in my opinion. I gave it 5 stars. I think it's one of the most important movies you could ever watch because it just so German like retrospective in film on like this on like the on World War II is just so fascinating in my opinion. There's so much like regret and like regret and like horror at like what they've done retrospectively, and it's really interesting.
I have 2 questions on that. One, do you think you liked it so much because you're intrigued by kind of like German history and things like that? And do you think
so like I mean, as I've said, like I have a very objective fascination with like Hitler's rise and like how, because he was a failed Austrian painter, and then somehow he becomes like the head of one of like the strongest regimes ever. And I think that like it's a very much a German story, but it's very much like a world story as well, because people have these undying allegiances to political figures or cult of personalities that that are evident throughout history, and are probably even more evident today than any other time. And it's I think it's such a good lesson for people to learn, and that's why I think people should watch it, because there's just so many great scenes where the movie's not like telling you like this is bad, but you're just watching such an objective camera that it just makes everything seem so much worse. It makes things seem so much more real, and it's just great.
Yeah. And my second question would be, do you think it'd work if we did it as a podcast episode?
It would, like I said, like I think I said last time, like we could potentially talk about this movie for 3 hours.
Damn.
Because there's so many like other characters around. So like you mainly follow like what's going on in the bunker, but there's so many other characters that's doing other things around Berlin. And just from a sociological standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, from a film standpoint, there's just so much to talk about. And it's just fascinating. Like this is probably like the most I've thought about a movie in years.
Any movie that you hold in such a high recommendation is clearly something we have to check out at some point. I mean, you often aren't this like gung ho, like this is the most important movie.
And it's not like, I mean, like I'm not really in a rush to rewatch it because it's so brutal, but it's not like a Requiem for a Dream where it's just like horrific. It just feels culturally important.
Okay.
And the way the filmmakers were able to make this humanize these real events while also not making the characters empathetic is just like a feat that I cannot possibly understand how they managed to do.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna really have to check this one out eventually. I'm very curious.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ooh. Who knows? I watch that next weekend then. Mark, it's all on you.
On that note,
It's your turn. No, it's your turn.
It's your turn.
No,
Wait,
it's
whose turn?
Tyler's turn.
It's my
No.
turn.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
'cause-
I didn't
oh.
move. We're going clockwise.
All right, Matt. I want to just throw. So, Matt, you have said before that one of your go-to not guilty pleasure movies, like feel-good movies that you can watch is Midnight in Paris. And I've always kind of like, I have a couple of those, but nothing like that really is like that resonates with me. And I think I may have found that. And that's 2016's Paterson, directed by Jim Jarmusch. This movie is kind of amazing. It's nowhere near as like culturally important as Downfall is in any regard. But in terms of like sheer impact it had, this just kind of clicked at the right time. Like we've talked about this, Mark, before, where kind of like adaptation clicked at the right time for you, and same with Francis Ha for me. This one is just the most peaceful movie I've seen in a long time. It's basically centered around Adam Driver as he goes about his week as a bus driver who writes poetry, and it explores kind of his relationship with his wife and his kind of like passion for creativity and creating art, and kind of like what that does, and how creativity is really kind of what gets you out of the bed every morning, and that work to constantly add your own mark on the world and do what makes you kind of human is ultimately what this movie's really about. It's some people I've looked at some like reviews for this because I'm really curious, and some people think it's really slow or kind of pointless to it. But if you're a creative person, and I think you guys both are, then this would just really resonate. Just kind of like, I like Blackhat, so I can't really stay the same.
No, Tyler can't relate.
I can't relate anymore. But I just think it's one of those things where if your passion for life is your art and your creativity and creating something that you are proud of, then this movie is going to click with you in every regard. I think the performances are really wonderful. Adam Driver and the person who plays his wife are really great, and they have wonderful chemistry. And it's also probably the most healthiest relationship that's ever put to screen. There's absolutely no drama, no conflict, nothing with their relationship. It's a healthy, functional, loving marriage that you can just tell is just like fueled by their kind of like love for each other and the passion that their own individual passions. And, it's their support for each other that ultimately helps them go along with the day. And it's a movie where, and this isn't really, I don't want to spoil it, but the biggest conflict in this movie is something that's so mundane, but it's so impactful to the characters. And I think this movie's just kind of wonderful. I think it's one of those things like with Midnight in Paris for you, where if I'm ever just kind of like in the mood for a movie that'll make me feel good, I'll probably need to go back and watch Paterson again. It's on Amazon Prime. It's one of those Amazon Prime originals that they got the streaming rights to. It's not an original movie, but I mean, Matt, if we had done our best of the decade, like maybe like a little bit after, this probably would have been on there, the top 10. I really
Along with Blackhat.
Well, along with Blackhat, yeah. I was saying that with pride. I
say
really
that with pride.
whatever. I really love this movie, and if you're Adam Driver fan, if you're a Jim Jarmusch fan, I would really recommend checking this one out.
If you're a fan of bad hacker movies,
then watch Live Free or Die Hard. There you go. You're welcome. Not Blackhat's a great hacker movie. But yeah, that's Paterson. It's great. I love it.
So for my recommendation, I'm going to recommend Martin Scorsese's 1985 film After Hours, which kind of blew me away when I watched it. It's a 1985, as I just said, American black comedy film directed by Scorsese and starring Griffin Dunn with an ensemble cast. So there's a lot of
How's
sort
that
of big names in
IMDb
it.
synopsis over there going for you?
It's the Wikipedia one. I realized I need to encapsulate the plot better. The film follows Paul Hackett, portrayed by Griffin Dunn, as he experiences a series of misadventures while making his way home from New York City's Soho district during the night. So this film.
You should read audiobooks.
Yeah, I should.
So
I'm
much
very
action.
good at narrating.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just trying to rush through it. So this feels like a weird step for Scorsese, given the usual subject material that he chooses. Because we've all seen Goodfellas and The Departed and Casino and whatnot, but this film is just so small in scope, and it's short. It's like an hour and 36 minutes or something like that, and I think it's fucking brilliant.
Damn.
I watched this because I was reading a review for Scorsese's film Cape Fear, which came out in 1993, starring Robert De Niro, and which is a remake of a film from 1962. And in that review, Roger Ebert talks about how like this movie was a step down for Scorsese, and he's like, you know, the director who made Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Mean Streets, and After Hours, like this doesn't feel like a good step in the right direction. And I was like, well, I haven't seen After Hours, so maybe I should go check that out. And Scorsese gave this Ebert gave this 4 stars.
He gave his own movie 4 stars.
Yeah, he was like, this movie's brilliant. Who directed it?
Yeah.
What if he gave it like 2
I bet
stars?
the doctor's so handsome.
Yeah. Oh shit, what was I gonna say? It's not his best film. It is. I don't think it's his best film by far, but it's so entertaining. It's just an hour and a half, and it's. I'm an absolute sucker when a movie can combine like a good score with like just like an absolutely magnificent scene. And there was at one point in this movie, and I realized, oh my god, this is actually amazing. It was like in the first half an hour, and the main character is like having this realization, and the way the camera is positioned as it's moving and as the score kicks in, it was like it took my breath away. I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. And the movie's just this wild ride, and I like movies that center around like, you know, 1980s New York, you know, the hustle and bustle of Wall Street and just the, you know, the dynamics between people in that time frame. It makes for very interesting a very interesting movie, I guess. Like look at like Taxi Driver, sort of like that ambiance, I guess. So I think this is on HBO Max. So
damn,
if you have that, go check it out. It's short. It's short.
Who has that? Wait.
Who has that one?
Who has?
If you're a Scorsese fan, watch it. If you're a movie fan, just watch it anyway.
All right.
Just watch it in general if he buys.
Just watch it in general.
Make sure you watch it without subtitles.
No, you have to watch Blackhat first, and then you.
I watched it with German subtitles for some reason.
Oh, that's interesting. I hear that Scorsese likes the Germanic influence, and so he watches movies in German dubbed.
So when you watch the film, I don't know why Scorsese stopped doing cameos, because you can spot him in this film.
Oh, really?
He was in Taxi Driver, obviously.
Do you get excited? Do you sit there and you're like, oh, that's too awesome?
It's like when you see Alfred Hitchcock. You're like, hey, there he is.
You're like, oh my god, bald bastard. All right, After Hours.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Not
yet, loser.
So I am talking about my next pick is a TV show called Penny Dreadful.
God, oh my god, again?
I haven't talked about it on the show yet.
Yeah, you have.
I
feel like you have.
But I'm currently watching it for the 3rd time.
Wow.
I just finished season 2, and I'm gonna watch season 3 this week. It's written by John Logan, who has written Skyfall, The Last Samurai, Aviator, and Gladiator. So, you know, he kind of knows his stuff, and it's just it's like an 18th century gothic horror TV show starring Eva Green as Vanessa Ives and Josh Hartnett and Sir Timothy Dalton. And it's very much in the vein of the movies and which characters that they take from. So there's the Wolfman, there's Frankenstein, Dorian Gray are all in it, and it feels like you're watching a TV show written by one of these authors, because very rich language. They talk a lot about poetry and Tennyson and stuff like that. But also there's like this whole gothic, you know, fighting the devil, fighting demons, Dracula. But it's all handled very well because the characters are so well realized, and each of us on the show, I think, has like our own like particular favorite part about a film. Like I feel like Mark likes directing. Tyler likes bad movies. Tyler likes muscle guys who are hackers. And like I kind of consider myself to be like the character guy of our group. And this show just has like the most fleshed out characters of any show. So much so that
wait. So you like characters? What does Mark like? What did you say?
Like directing.
What do I like?
Work. I like and Tyler's muscle hacker guys.
Muscle hacker guys. Okay, thank you. Just want to get that on record.
And I like John Cena, and
yeah,
that's
and it benefits the show because you know, like lesser shows like the Witcher, for example, where it's more plot driven. When you have 10 episodes, you can't really. It gets boring because they're trying to, you know, drag out plots that don't really need to be dragged out for hour-long episodes and, you know, a 10-episode season. The show benefits the fact that it's such rich characters because, you know, you can have just like random interactions between all these characters and all of their group, and it's all interesting and fun, and it keeps you engaged. And I just love Victorian era stuff. I love the music. I love like the what people wear and stuff like that. And I just love. I'm a huge Dorian Gray book fan, and I think he's great in the show as well. And I can't really recommend this enough because I just love it handles gothic horror so in a very classic way, and you can tell John Logan just loves all these great writers and poets from like that day, and it's great.
How'd you watch it?
It's on Netflix. Well, I watched it like originally on Showtime and it was airing, but ever since then I've rewatched it twice on Netflix, and yeah, I can't say enough. They just quote Tennyson at random points, and it fits like the characters in that moment. Unlike Charlie Kaufman, who just references things for no point, just make paper. So everyone know how smart he is.
Damn, calling it. Wow, throwing shade. I love it.
And Charlie Kaufman's fine, but he's no John Logan. Yeah, watch the show because it's great.
I have a question.
Character work.
So how long are the episodes?
Like 45 minutes.
45
and it's
minutes.
like and it's not like there's 20 episodes per season. There's like one is 8, one is 10, one is like 9. So. And
is there an overarching story, or is there?
Yeah, it's an overarching story.
Okay.
Each season's is a little condensed, but I mean, like Vanessa, like Eva Green's the main character, and her character is basically that, like she's kind of possessed by like the devil wants her to be his bride, and she's just constantly like fighting like this urge to go in the darkness. So like that's like the kind of overarching narrative, but again, like it's just the character work is just so exceptional in this show that I just can't recommend enough. Yeah, so Mark, you should watch. I think you would like it.
I think I should watch it. Yeah.
What about me?
You tried watching it, but you're like,
I watched.
There's no muscle hacker, man.
There's no Chris Hemsworth isn't hacking people. No, if you're wondering, like, man, you guys look really bored listening to Matt talk about this because Matt's been talking about the show for years.
Yeah.
Which is I've been hearing Penny Dreadful like every week for the last 9 years of my life. So just throwing that out there.
Mark seemed interested. Tyler just was like,
I am interested.
Can't wake up.
So I want to recommend a David Lynch movie. I want to recommend Blue Velvet. There goes Matt. I was very interested in this movie. This has been a point of contention for you two. Mark loves this movie. Matt likes it, but like to shit on it.
I'm like moderate on it.
Yeah,
I think it's a masterpiece. It's like one of my favorite movies ever.
I'm not that high on it. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I do really love it though.
Okay.
But Matt has been on record of liking to antagonize Mark because he likes Blue Velvet. And I must say, I kind of really dug this movie. I'm a big fan of, I don't know, this movie it's really tough to pinpoint. It just feels so unnatural, but I think that's the entire point of it. It's basically, it feels like in a movie of like what's underneath the city, that kind of slimy underground, and what's underneath people. And I feel like one of the key lines to locking on that is when Laura Dern asks Kyle MacLachlan, it's like, are you a detective or a pervert? And he's like, I don't know, I guess we'll find out. And it's like, oh, that's great because, he probably is both of them in some capacity. Like, pretty sure like every single person is. And it's a really wonderful kind
including
of like,
you.
Including me, yes. And a wonderful exploration of that kind of like, I'm just going right over that one, of like a seedy underground. And Dennis Hopper is just insane in this movie. He is so kick-ass. I absolutely loved everything about him. But I also found like, Eraserhead's an enigma. Like, I feel like that has to be like said right there. You can't really classify that. Like, it's really tough to just criticize that in any regard because it's just a weird movie, and that's the aim of it. Matt can find something to criticize about it, but Blue Velvet, I feel like, works a lot to David Lynch's strengths of the stuff I've seen so far and the stuff I know about him, which is kind of like creating this like unnatural and unease of an environment, like through like unique camera angles and unique camera movements. And kind of like an unsettling score, and with performances that I feel like are purposely slightly off and unnatural, and things.
Yes.
Things just feel purposefully weird, and I think David Lynch really hits that nail on the head. I'm a big sucker for it. This is like, it's kind of like my type of movie, and I would really recommend it if you're very curious about David Lynch. I think you probably should watch Blue Velvet, first, right? Don't watch Dune.
No, don't. Do Eraserhead first. That's like a good like.
But Eraserhead's so out there though, and Eraserhead could turn a lot of people off. It's like, is this all his movies? Blue Velvet's normal enough.
No, I disagree. I think you should do Eraserhead because that's what you're in for with David Lynch, and I think it's a good idea. Like, if you can tolerate Eraserhead, then you might have a good time with Blue Velvet.
Okay.
So I have a question now. Now that you watched Clockwork Orange,
Yeah.
who do you think would win? The Droogs from Clockwork Orange or Frank Booth and his goons from Blue Velvet?
Frank Booth.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
You don't think the
I think
Droogs
the
would win?
Droogs, I think, would win handedly.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
All they
like
gotta do is tear off Frank's oxygen tank, and he's just done for.
That's not oxygen. It's not oxygen. It's some other drug.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Break it, and he's done.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just the Droogs are interesting. I don't know. You know what? I'll come back to you on that one. I'll do some research.
Okay.
Figure out-
He's gonna
Like a film theory
quantify
video.
it.
Yeah. Film
Who would
and-
win?
And that's just a theory. No, Blue Velvet, again, I really, because Mark, you're like, David Lynch, and I was like, oh, shut up, David Lynch, sure, whatever. So fucking stupid. And I was like, and then I watched Blue Velvet, and I was like, oh, fuck, David Lynch.
Well, you had seen one clip from it because of the Squid and the Whale, right?
Yes.
The movie?
Well,
Yeah.
my only experience with Blue Velvet was in Squid and the Whale, the purposely pompous and arrogant and overly intelligent douchebag father figure was like, Blue Velvet is the most intelligent movie ever created. And he's like rambling about Squid and Blue Velvet. And I went, okay, so is Blue Velvet really stupid? Because it's coming from the perspective of this character. And then I watched it and I was like, Blue Velvet is the most intelligent movie ever. And I was all on it. So yeah.
There's a lecture out there. I think Noah Baumbach lectured for BAFTA. I think that's the name of the organization. And about Marriage Story and his directing style and his inspiration. And he talks about how Blue Velvet had a big effect on him because he was like 22, 24 when it came out. And it really influenced him. And so he analyzes the opening scene of Blue Velvet and talks about it and like what it means to him. So maybe we can put that in the link down below.
You have to give me the link. I'm not doing it. Yeah, you have to get me.
I'll
send
send
it to
you.
me. Okay, thank goodness. All right, awesome. That was Blue Velvet. Mark?
So the next movie I'm going to recommend, I didn't watch it this month, but I bought it this month. It's The Great Dictator, directed by Charlie Chaplin. I'm going to recommend this with an asterisk because if you're new to Charlie Chaplin, don't start here. Because this came out in 1940, and I think the first film by Charlie Chaplin was like 1917. So like he was the silent film guy, obviously. We all know that. And so you really got to see his older silent films first. You guys are distracting me. Stop. To like really get the weight of this movie because, Charlie Chaplin utilizes sound to its full extent. And it came out in 1940. And this is a satire on it's a satire on Hitler, Mussolini, the Nazi Germany. Before the war started, before it was cool. We were at peace with Nazi Germany during this time. And so this is very controversial when it came out. Also, it's just a masterpiece of a film because it was written, directed, produced, and scored, and stars Charlie Chaplin in 2 roles. He was just an absolute control freak with his films. So if you want to see this movie, I'd recommend a good starting point is City Lights, and then go to probably Modern Times, just to get an idea of his filmmaking style and how he utilizes physical comedy, and then see the Great Dictator, and it's magnificent. I'm really bad at articulating why I love movies, but it's phenomenal, and I believe all of these movies are on the Criterion Channel. So if you get a
Remember, however bad you can be, you're never going to be as bad as Blackhat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wait, what's it called? Those hackers.
Oh yeah, Hacker is the movie.
Hacker movie, man. Starting
Hacker Man.
December.
Hacker
Damn
Muscle
it.
Man.
Listen, Blackhat is the fucking best movie ever. I can't believe we should have never done that. I should have let that one be my movie. Forever and ever.
You should
Amen.
have. Man, poor Mark, he was doing schoolwork all week, and he finally had 2 free hours. And you made him watch that piece of crap.
Rewatched Eyes Wide Shut.
No breaks for you, Mark. All right, Matt, what's the next thing you're gonna recommend?
This monstrosity.
I'm excited to hear what you think.
Pillars of the Earth. They're written by Ken Follett. So I kind of got this book on interesting circumstances because my dad's been recommending it for a long time, and I was clearing out a family member's house, and we were throwing things into the dump, and he had a bookshelf, and the Pillars of the Earth was there, so we were just gonna throw it, and then my uncle picked it up, and he's like, "Have you read this book?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh, you should just keep it." I'm like, "Okay." So free book. And this book is very good. I think it has. I don't think it's like the masterpiece that like my family members have like proclaimed it as being. Um, Mainly in some of like the character motivation, not motivation, but characterization is a little weak. Like there's generic good guys and generic bad guys, and the young like relationship, like budding relationship between like this kid Jack and this girl Eliana, and it's like they're both perfect for each other, and like Jack is like super smart and he's like super good at sex and like just like amazing in general. It's kind of like it's just things that like you would see in like a generic medieval tale that is here, but the main like thing about this book is that it's about the building of the cathedral in Kingsbridge, which is fictional, I think. But
no, I think it's historical fiction.
So
it's
okay,
like
so it is
embedded
real,
with
but
truth and fiction.
obviously like these events aren't real though. And like the detail he goes into and like the building of the cathedral, like you can tell Ken Fletcher's really passionate about this kind of work. And ultimately, it expands like a very like a long period of time. Like a lot of characters who are young at the beginning, like are like relatively older towards the end. And it's fun to watch these characters grow over time. It is a little long. I mean, this book is like 1,000 pages, and it took me like I think a couple months to like read it. But it doesn't really have like the prose of F. Scott Fitzgerald or like a lot of craft where like you have to read every line. Eventually, I realized that you could kind of speed read it a little bit, and I'd like enjoy it more. But I'd say it's a good one overall. Like I like medieval tales, and I'd say this one definitely sticks up as one of the better ones because Ken Follett clearly did so much research in how to build a cathedral, and it really shows here. Yeah, and I recommend it.
How many pages is it?
This version is 977.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think it was the selected book for Oprah's book club, so that's why it became really famous.
Really?
Because everybody's reading it.
Look at that. You and Oprah, a lot of common. You're like one step away from Oprah. Matt, I also want to recommend a book. And for you, Mark.
You read a book?
I read a book.
Wow.
I want to recommend William Goldman's Adventures in the Screen Trade. William Goldman, if you don't know, is a
Oh, you finished it.
Yeah. He's a moderately
that was so condescending.
Damn. Oh my God, Mark.
Well, sorry. I didn't mean it to be condescending. I felt like you just started it, so
no,
I must read it fast.
Yeah. Well, it's first off.
Well, Tyler got past the first chapter.
I know. Surprise! Just ignore all of these. No, William Goldman's the screenwriter of like The Princess Bride, Misery, All the President's Men, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He's done Marathon Man. He did like the '94 like Charlie Chaplin movie with Robert Downey Jr. He's been around in Hollywood. He was a writer and kind of stuff like that. And he basically details a lot of his experiences with making movies and how movies work and how kind of from like the screenwriting process and on things get made and like a lot of the backstory and kind of stuff like that and who's the most important figures and how deals get made and, you know, what some actors are like and how some certain projects get made. And for that, it's really compelling. For that kind of like learning all about that and learning that like Al Pacino was kind of like a diva on some of his sets is really, really great. And like learning about like how like certain star power like dictates how movies are made. And it's very, very interesting to a certain point. And that point is when he inserts the entire script of his movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and then breaks it down as to why it's a great script. And it becomes very celebratory as to why he's a really talented writer. And by that point, I just skimmed the rest of it and went, okay. There's a certain point where he does include legitimately the entire script of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and then breaks down like why it was a good script. And it's really weird because he is a very like, he's one of those writers that is like very like bemoaning to himself. Like he's kind of like Charlie Kaufman in a sense where he'll like make fun of himself and point out a lot of like his flaws as like a writer. And like a lot of his backstory is like he had no formal training and he got into it and how like oftentimes like the failures of stuff like eats away at him. And then to suddenly include his entire script and then as why it works and why it like he basically is like it should have won Best Picture that year, my movie. And you're like, okay, you kind of just like it's like this is also an extended version of the book that I got. I'm pretty sure the original print of this stuff did not include it, and this is stuff that was added on. But it's a really interesting, it's a pretty easy read, kind of just account of what it's like to make a movie in Hollywood. And I read it because of Film Frauds, and I'd recommend it, but only like the first like 345 pages.
I want a book about Michael Mann directing Blackhat, and why I think it's a masterpiece in
Good.
directing.
I'm gonna have.
I really thought the shot would be good if like half like the back half of like a girl's ear was like in like most of the frame.
You were. I saw you smiling, and I knew you were waiting to make that joke. And I just want to throw out there that if there's ever a book written on that, it would be you'd look at it and you grab it, and Michael Mann would be like a piece of paper, and you take the paper up, and it'd be written by me.
Yeah, it's like a post-it note that says Michael Mann on it.
You're like, what is this, Tyler Clark? And you're like, oh, okay. It's just the picture is just that one scene for Blackhat where Chris Hemsworth wakes up and puts a shirt on over his head. And he's just shredded.
I've like forgotten that movie.
Yeah, no, you haven't. Yeah, if you're really interested, this is like a very nice entry into like how movies are made, kind of stuff, like Hollywood history, kind of backstory. He's got a few more kind of like I'm pretty sure he has like 2 sequels to this, and I might check them out. But if they have more inserts of his movies into why they're great, I'm probably not going to. So that's that movie. That's that book.
All right.
Yeah.
I got a book as well.
Oh my god.
Of Human Bondage by W. Somerset Maugham. And no, it's not a sequel to 50 Shades of Grey.
It's a prequel.
It's a prequel.
It's a prequel. Yeah, so this book is pretty long. It's 662 pages. It took me a while to finish. I wanted to take my time with it. I read this book.
That's a bad choice of words.
Put in the podcast highlights. I don't care.
Yeah.
So this is the first book or anything I've read from W. Somerset Maugham. I think he's more known for his plays and his short stories. I picked this book up because I'd heard of this community on Reddit as well as this podcast called the Hemingway List. It's like 4,000 members or something, and it revolves around this piece of paper that was found, and it's written by. It's not even like a letter or anything. It's just it's like these notes from Ernest Hemingway, and in 1934, a young writer had sent a letter to Hemingway saying, "What book should I read to become a good writer?" And so Hemingway lists, I believe, 10 books as well as like 3 short stories, and he says, "Read these to become like a literary god or whatever." So like on that list was like War and Peace, Anna Karenina, Brothers Karamazov, Dubliners, and a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head. Actually, I do remember a few of them, but I won't list them all. But one of them was Of Human Bondage, and I read the title of this book, and I was like, "What the heck? What is this about?" And I sort of stored that in the back of my brain, and then one day, back in September, I was at Barnes & Noble, and I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, "Hey, let's give it a shot." So
I'm sorry. What is that Of Human Bondage about?
What's this book?
What's going on? Oh.
You just go up to the desk like, "I'm definitely not a pervert. Can I just buy this, please?" But yeah, very odd choice of the title is very fitting given the subject. But and also I read this book.
It's like a fiction book or like what?
It's fiction. It's both fictional and semi-autobiographical about W. Somerset's life. And I'd read this right after The Beautiful and the Damned, and so obviously F. Scott Fitzgerald is like very flowery prose, very deliberate, verbose in the best way possible. And so I was reading the introduction for this book, and it was like W. Somerset Maugham, like maybe 10 or 20 years after the book had been written or released. And he talks about his intention with the book. And so he was about 40 when he wrote this book, or 38, I believe. And in his young years as a writer, he was like he wanted to be like sort of like an F. Scott Fitzgerald, not exactly, but like in the sense that he wanted that like flowery prose that drew attention to itself. And so when he set out to write this book, he had the story in his head, and he said, this is going to be a long story, and I need to tell it in like the quickest way possible. So I need to cut out like all that floweriness and the beautiful prose, and just make it as simple as possible. And the book follows a boy, an orphan named Philip Carey, and the book starts out when he's a few days old, and his mother is dying from, I think, the effects of childbirth, and his father has already passed away. So he's a new orphan as soon as the story starts. And the book is about Philip growing up, without parental guidance, and he's sent to his uncle, who's a vicar. I don't really know exactly what position that holds in the church, but this man who sort of cold and not really good with children, and Philip is just trying to figure out, how do I go through life, and how should I live my life, and what should I do? And it's about the connections that he makes, and his decisions, his philosophy, and just him growing as a person, which mirrored W. Somerset Maugham's childhood in itself, because he was orphaned at a young age and he was sent to his uncle who was a vicar, and so it just makes for this wonderful book. And I think it really resonated with me because, at one point in the book, Philip is my age, and he sort of has these like questions and ideas that I've sort of had in the back of my head, and it just articulated so well in this book.
About bondage.
Shut up. Shut up. It has nothing to, there's nothing perverted in this book. I swear to God. It's amazing. And I think
what is not perversion is all a matter of perspective.
Oh my God. I can't believe you're tainting this. I can't believe you're tainting this.
Keep going, Mark. You're selling me. You're working your magic. Go.
Yeah. So I would recommend this to anybody because this is itself is considered a classic, and I think a lot of people are afraid of the classics because you sort of, when you think of classics, you think of maybe like Dickens or maybe like an F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Flowery Prose, and it's like kind of daunting, and so you sort of stay away from it. This book is written it's just written so well. And I think anybody can pick this up. It doesn't. I'm not like an English major or anything, and I'm just an engineer. I don't know any of the complexities of the English language or literature.
Neither do we.
Yeah, no, we paid so so much money for it now.
You guys know it a little better than I do, but
Nah.
So I would.
No.
I would recommend this to anybody who wants to read it, and I'd recommend it to anybody who just loves books and anybody who loves to write. And I think that's why I'm going to recommend it specifically to you, Matt, because apparently this book really, you should read it as a reader. Matt should read it as both a reader and a writer, because one, it's written so elegantly and so simply, and it can show you that you don't need to be so worried about your prose in itself, as long as you're telling a good story in the way that you want to write it. If you don't worry about being a certain way or living up to a certain expectation, you can create something magnificent. And obviously this really affected Hemingway, who's considered to be one of the greatest writers of the 20th century, maybe even of all time. And so I would recommend this book to anybody. So it's Of Human Bondage, written in 1915 by W. Somerset Maugham.
Okay.
Cool.
Did I make a good case?
I think you did make a good case. I'm curious now about it. I'll add it to whatever this is.
I'll add one more thing.
To the pile of the never-ending void of books.
This is my favorite book of all time. I've never been so impacted by a book before.
Damn.
I mean, this book really affected me. I'm serious. And I hope other people can feel this, because I think you guys probably feel the same way as me. Quite honestly, because I know you guys too well.
No, we're not into that kinky stuff. Sorry.
Man, this is where Stephanie Meyer got. Was it Stephanie Meyer who wrote the 50 Shades books?
That was no, it was something Gray.
No, the character's name.
50 Shades of Grey.
Oh,
50 Shades of Grey wrote the book.
Wait, hold on, I got it. Hold on, 50 Shades. Well, okay, Mark, you have made a very compelling case. I want to check it out now.
Okay.
E.L. James.
Damn it! Oh, I almost had it. E.L. James.
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah, so I have bringing back the video games. I have Ghost of Tsushima.
Was that you can't?
You finished it?
You finished?
I'm well over halfway through. I'm gonna say that I think this game is something special. It's not quite on the Witcher level for me, but it's very, very close. Basically, he plays a samurai, the last living samurais after a Mongol invasion on the island of Tsushima. And
is it Tsushima or Tsushima?
Tsushima.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, Tsushima. No, don't westernize the name. And it's very much like a Last Samurai kind of tale. You just play as this good guy trying to fight off, the Mongol horde. And it's a very interesting dichotomy, because you want to be this noble samurai, but you're so overwhelmed by the Mongols that you have to start using stealth tactics, your ghost, is what it's called. So you're building this repertoire as both being a noble samurai and also this ninja at the same time, which is considered dishonorable in samurai code. And that's really good. The story is relatively predictable, but it takes itself very seriously, and it's there's a lot of passion in it. So it works for a fairly generic plot. But I did talk about the visuals, like this all over the map. There's like really amazing like autumn visuals, winter visuals. Like just look at the graphics of the game, and it's utterly phenomenal. And you really feel like you're in like a Akira Kurosawa movie, like in like the cutscenes, because it's directed in that same way. And there's like one scene, like the end of like the first act, where you take you're trying to like take this giant Mongol base, and then you meet up with one of your friends supposed to help you, but he doesn't show up, and then like you break away from the battle, and then like you're like in like this pool, like this pool area, and like your friend is waiting for you there, and he's like my people, like I need to align with the Mongols because my people are starving. And it's like playing like this like you know if you hear it, it's like a guitar string. It's like tick, 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 that kind of thing, and it just feels like you're like watching the samurai movie, and you fight him, and just it's like you are a samurai, and it's so good, and I really am in love with this game, and it's pretty incredible.
Kurosawa mode.
I have, but the visuals are so good that I can't really justify doing it.
Yeah.
Because like when you go into Kurosawa mode, everything turns black and white. But like everything just looks so beautiful, like with color, that it's hard to do it. And also it makes combat more difficult at the same time when you're just playing in black and white. But Kurosawa mode works really well, and it changes the audio too, so it sounds like older as well, more staticky. So that's cool. Like rain falling when you're not playing the Kurosawa mode will sound regular, but when you play it in a Kurosawa mode, it sounds like you're watching a movie from that time period. And things like that, like you can just tell there's so much passion that went into the game, and I really am really enjoying it.
Interesting. Yeah.
You get to murder people and you cut their limbs off, and it's awesome.
Oh, there we go. That's more my thing. Yeah. Oh, okay, now I'm gonna buy it. I've already ordered it. My final movie is the one that you guys have seen that I watched this month, and it's Aguirre, the Wrath of God. I fucking love this movie.
Did you see that in October or November?
No, I did. October 31st. I have it marked on Letterboxd if you don't believe me.
Fake.
No, this was one of those things where you guys are like Herzog fanatics because of Nosferatu the Vampire, and I'm like, the audio sucks. It's not a good movie. It's
not enough hackers.
Not enough hackers. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to check out Aguirre, the Wrath of God, because it's on Amazon Prime. Because, maybe I was wrong about Herzog, and I was blown away. It took me a few minutes to get acclimated to the kind of like documentary style of the movie. But after that, I was all in on it. This kind of like up close and personal and claustrophobic, directing style is in a very nice contrast to kind of like the wide open atmosphere of like South America and like the Incas and how they're sailing down a river and kind of stuff like that. And it's just magnificent. The performances are wonderful. And I love these type of movies where people kind of slowly go insane and like are systematically taken off. One of my favorite scenes, and I said this before in our What We've Been Watching section with the movie, is when their king, the one that they kind of like, you're the king, is riding down a river. Everyone's starving and miserable, and he's just writing on a paper, and he's like, this is my empire. And he's just kind of pointing, and he's like, I have the biggest empire in the entire world, but it means nothing. And it's just like, it's nonsense. And then like the next few scenes later, he dies coming off of the toilet. And it's just this wonderful contrast between like this idealized version of finding El Dorado and reaching this kind of like this nobility that is like beyond comprehension. And then just like, it's that direct contrast to they're on a raft and they're slowly going insane and they're starving and everyone's just slowly dying. And it's just this wonderful like exploration of just like insanity and kind of like the corruption of power. And Klaus Kaczynski, despite being a horrible human being, gives an incredible performance. And I really love this. I love that slow kind of like rise in power of Aguirre and how he overtakes kind of the appointed leader of the faction that breaks off, and then how he slowly kind of like instills rule by fear, and whoever doesn't agree with him is basically murdered. It's really great. I was like, I get it. I see what you guys saw in Herzog in this one, and now I really want to check out his other two movies on Netflix, Amazon Prime. What was it, Matt? What was that look? What was that look? Yeah, you gave me a look.
He's just being disapproving, just in general.
I'm praising Herzog. I want to see his other movie, Fitzcarraldo and the Grizzly Man, that are on Amazon Prime. I can't recommend it enough. I know you guys aren't as high as I am.
Is there a Grizzly Man of Human Bondage?
Yeah.
There is now.
There's now? Okay. Is there a hot hacker guy of Human Bondage?
There is if you want there to be.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna be buying this immediately then. Excellent.
Okay.
Any thoughts on Aguirre or
I remember liking it, but not loving it.
okay?
I watched it back. I'd say like in March or April. I think yeah, the documentary style is definitely very interesting, and it really works in this film. I was blown. I think my breath was actually taken away in the opening shots of you just see the conquistadors descending over like the Andes or something
The
as
Incas or
their
whatever. Yeah.
Incas, and they're
Well, the
trying.
Incas is not the name of a mountain.
Is it not?
No,
Oops.
they're Aztec or Inca territory or something. But yeah, it's stunning visuals. I think that Herzog has this incredible capacity to capture just this like ambiance, I guess you could say, or like really sets you like puts you into the film because like in Aguirre the Wrath of God, the most of the film is like on like a water raft, and like you're watching it, and like if you're like it feels like watching the film is like wearing wet socks or something.
Yeah.
Because it's like you feel like you're drenched as well, just as these characters are, as they're like going down the river trying to find El Dorado. Wasn't at one point in the film there was a gigantic ship in a tree?
Yeah,
That was the best scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap.
That being said, I think Nosferatu the Vampire is like a much better movie, in my opinion. Like I think he improved a lot.
I think I like it more, but like Your Wrath of God is like I think in itself like
I mean, I think I appreciate what Aguirre does more than I like it.
Yeah, I think
sense.
that's the same boat that I'm in.
That makes sense. I can't argue with that.
Whereas like Nosferatu, I was just like completely like mesmerized the whole movie.
Oh yeah, that's the best way of describing like.
I think the audio is my favorite part of Nosferatu the Vampire.
I would agree, Matt.
Yeah.
One day I'll have ammunition over you guys.
I think audio is for Tyler is like the new like Mark Sleepy Time moments.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
God, every episode we'll check to see how the audio.
Whenever we give like a grade for a film and the other guys get mad, I can just say like, oh well, the audio was bad, and that justifies everything that I say. That justifies me giving a masterpiece like Nosferatu the Vampire C.
Masterpiece is subjective, so you know.
Well, I mean,
just like your.
No, it's not. When I say something is a masterpiece, it's subjective.
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
Mark and I both agree on it. Like that's like what more do you need?
We are. See us, our faces were gods, so that's basically.
Well, I mean, Mark and I are.
Yeah.
I can see.
He's the court jester.
Yeah, that's a little generous.
Hey, look, it's
I think
Blackhat.
the Royal Fool, I think, is the more apt title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make you guys. Yeah. All right. Well, that was our.
He's not very funny, so that really wouldn't fit either.
That's a good point.
He's like the Royal Foot Washer.
Well, that's all right in the episode. That's it. It's Matt. What's it called? The action.
He's the royal horse manure shifter.
The horse just shit. You go sweep it up.
Yes, my lord.
Yes, here, take this copy of Blackhat to scoop it up. Like, oh.
Can I want it after, my lord?
No.
No.
God damn it. All right. Well,
we take a picture of Michael Mann and we put it on the floor and we're like, step on it.
Never.
we take the picture, we trench it and horse manure, and then we tell Tyler to eat it, and he goes, are you sure you really want me to do this? You're like, we're sure.
Michael Mann's at the end of the rainbow here, and you're like, okay. All right, Michael Mann. All right, Matt, what's our call to action? What are we doing? What's next episode?
Like, comment, subscribe, comment for Film Fraud as long as it's me.
Or me.
We have some really good reviews out for Blackhat and this review right here that you're watching. And one we did last week, which was The Master. We're also on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube. You're probably watching us on YouTube. If you have any movies you want us to watch, recommend them in the comments. We'll probably get to them at some point.
Or we won't.
Be on the lookout because we have another stupid Tyler recommendation, Dunkirk. Yay. But after that, we're back to the good movies again with me. We have Mank as well, but also Cold War. Look forward to that.
Matt, we should watch Citizen Kane as well, just because of the Mank.
I should watch that. It's on HBO Max, so I have no excuse not to watch it now.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed. My recommendation, that Dunkirk one has been lined up for months. We've known that since I started the Nolan director series.
already getting ammunition against it. I haven't
Well,
seen it yet.
you know what? You haven't seen Dunkirk yet?
Well, I've seen it, but I haven't rewatched it yet.
Okay. Well, just so I can avoid my sanity from slipping even further.
Tyler has had the worst director series lineup. He had Christopher Nolan first, and then he's new Michael Mann after. Like, how underwhelming is that?
No, it's not underwhelming at all.
Yeah, Matt, you gotta do like Federico Fellini next or Antonio.
No, he's doing
I'm doing Yorgos next. But,
hey, that's even better.
yeah,
Come on.
we're doing Yorgos.
I can't wait to.
Man,
I can't wait.
Parchin work, and then Yorgos. Mark did Paul
PTA.
Anderson, and then you're doing Sidney Lumet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, what
makes
four
good
great
movies.
directors, and what just garbage, human waste, generic.
Oh my
YouTube.
God, we've been going so hard on Tyler for the past like 10 minutes. He's
I know.
just sitting there.
I'm taking it. My shell's becoming harder and harder.
Why
I
does
can't.
he even have it? Like, Tyler didn't even provoke us at all in this episode.
I was being nice today. You guys are so mean to me. I was being so kind.
You're nice to you at the beginning. We're like, oh, Tyler, I think you like this movie, and then I guess we weren't satisfied with your response.
You
I
were.
think our friendship can be defined as before Blackhat and after Blackhat.
Yeah, BH and
AH.
BBH.
Or AV.
God damn it. All right, whatever. I'm ending the
ADH.
episode now. I'm officially ending it so I can save my sanity. Thank you guys for watching, and I get the final.